How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors, leaks, that kind of stuff. You guys know what it's all about, so let's get right into it. Starting things off, we have this post right here from 4chan. This was also shared by Light, as well as, I think, Central Leaks as well. I'm not really sure, but basically, it is a 4chan post, so do keep in mind that these should be taken with a massive mountain of salt. But here's what it says, though, which is the following. January trailer. Interesting that it's talking about a January trailer, but I will talk about my opinions after I read through the information. So, Legend ZA trailer in January was supposed to be in October, but was pushed back. They are using the same trailer, but altering things slightly. Here's what I know. Wait. So he's arguing that, or he's saying that there was supposed to be a trailer in October, but was pushed back. I'm assuming he's implying that it was pushed back because of the massive amount of leaks that we had and everything, right? That's what I would assume he's talking about. And they're going to be using the same trailer, but altering things slightly. And here's what he knows so far. Okay, so what does he know? Well, starters are going to be revealed. They are the Kalos starters, and they're all on the table looking at the protagonist, and they reach out for one of them. Think kind of like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. If you don't know what he's referring to there, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, depending on the game you chose, you'd be guaranteed one starter. So if you choose Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, you'd have Pikachu. And if you choose Let's Go Eevee, you'd have Eevee. And when you go to the professor's lab, there's only one Pokeball. And when you reach out to it, it pops open in a really nice animation. And then whatever Pokemon game you chose, so if it's Let's Go Pikachu, Pikachu would pop out and he would like you touch his little head and he'd be like, Ooga Booga, I want to be your Pokemon. And then he becomes your Pokemon. So yeah. I guess what he's saying is that basically you're gonna reach out towards one of them, whichever game, or whichever, one you choose, I guess. You're gonna kind of reach out to it. It's gonna like snuggle your hand and boom, you got a Pokemon. Cool. But again, doesn't seem that crazy. Next thing. Shows riding through the city on a Go-Goat. Go-Go does have like a few moments you can ride on it, right, within Pokemon X and Y. So Go-Go, and again, it is from specifically, of course, X and Y and Kalos, so it makes sense that it will be present and that it'll be one of the rideable Pokemon, because we did have ride Pokemon in Legends Arceus as well. Either way, it says, can't jump on anything though, it's just basically used as a form of getting around the city quicker. Okay, so it can't jump, can't do anything special. It's just a form of transportation around the city, which, again, not that crazy. It also shows fast travel for the city, but this will be a taxi service, not a Pokemon. So, yeah, that would make sense as well. There was a taxi service in X and Y, too, which existed. So, I'm guessing this is pretty much the same concept. It would just be brought back to allow you to fast travel from place to place within the city. Because keep in mind, this game is taking place only within, Lumio City. We're not going to go outside the bounds of it, right? It's going to be only in that one place. So, yeah, it is an interesting one. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Interesting. I have to think about this one a little bit if I'm okay with, if I'm cool with that. But either way. So, moving on, it says, set 15 years after Kalos, and the trailer has multiple characters returning. Okay, well, that would make sense. But 15 years after Kalos, so I guess when he says that, he's talking about Pokemon X and Pokemon Y and the setting of those games. And apparently multiple characters are returning, which would make sense because they're just going to be a little bit older, I would assume then, right, logically. Sycamore, of course, the professor, would be back. And Serena, to name a few, but they look obviously older. That would make total sense, right? Similar to how, we saw Trainer Red, for example, and Blue, both of them showed up in Pokemon Sun and Moon, but they clearly looked older. They were more mature, because that game was also technically a bit further in the future from when, Red and Blue and Fire Red, Leaf Green happened. Either way, graphics are very similar to, they're very similar to Scarlet and Violet. We have heard this before. I think even the leaker, the man who leaked, the individual person, woman, who cares? The person who basically leaked the gigantic Terra leak did say that the game graphically looks very similar to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We know that for a fact. We have heard that, right? So that's interesting. But he says, graphics are very similar to Scarlet and Violet, but the UI is the same as Legends Arceus. Sprites used, PC box, etc., all the same. Interesting. When he says all the same, do they really mean exactly the same or just similar? Right? That's my question. Exactly the same or similar? Which one? Also, there was a good point made by Centro in regards to this rumor, right? Which is, he said that, hey, I think this is BS, this whole post, because the fact of the matter is that they usually never show UI, like actual, and if you don't know what UI means, UI is user interface. So it's like everything on the screen that you see that isn't just a game itself, right? So menu buttons, any like literally any buttons or any like interface stuff, right? That you can like, interact with, or that's just there to show you stuff. So like a map, for example, is a user interface, a little menu button, shit like that, like little indicators and stuff. That's all UI elements, right? And he said that apparently whenever they do release a trailer for one of these games, they never usually show the UI in the first trailer. But keep in mind, things can always change. So what he says could be true, could be very accurate, but also they have done things differently in the last few years than they normally do. Like the change in pace from Pokemon has been very drastic. So changing how they do trailers is also possible. But what he says here, though, the fact that like he's implying that the user interface is going to be exactly the same, I don't personally know how I feel about that. I would like it if they make unique new ones, because I like it when they mix around a little bit with it, mess around with it a little bit and make some new stuff, new unique UI. It's more fun that way, right? It makes for each game feeling like its own experience without like feeling like it's just a blatant copy of a previous game, which, it's just more fun that way. Either way, he says that shows catching Pokemon in the city. Okay. There are expanding so I'm guessing that they, like whoever's running the city, are expanding Lumios, but areas they are expanding into haven't been secured yet, and this is where you catch Pokemon and also fight bosses. Okay, and I'm guessing bosses would be similar to, the ones we ran into, like the alpha Pokemon, etc. The rampaging bad boys from Arceus, right, or Arceus, from like that Legends game, like a similar concept to that, I'm guessing. Says also, it is your job to secure the areas to help with the expansion, but the evil team try and stop you as they believe humans are forcing their way into Pokemon's ecosystem, which is why they end up trying to summon Zygarde. Okay, interesting. So basically, your job is to try to expand stuff, but the evil team try to stop you as they believe humans are forcing their way into the Pokemon ecosystem, which is why they end up trying to summon Zygarde. So they're trying to summon Zygarde because we're messing with nature. Makes sense. Like from a Pokemon plot standpoint, actually logical. Actually makes sense. Either way, returning Pokemon include Pidgey, Nincada, Mr. Mime Jr., Zigzagoon, Patrat, to name a few. That's a very strange combo of Pokemon, but okay. What a weird combo of Pokemon to mention. Pidgey, Nincada, Mime Jr., Zigzagoon, Patrat? What a weird combo, but okay. Also says the UI shows that abilities and held items also return. Okay, that's intriguing. The trailer is being dropped the week after the Rayquaza event ends. So Rayquaza event, I think, ends on the 9th of January or the 6th of January. I think it's one of those. It might be the 6th. It might be the 6th of January. I think that's when the Rayquaza event ends. So 6th of... Oh, it could be 9th as well. Oh, man, it could be 9th as well. By the way, whichever one of those it is, 6th or 9th, doesn't really matter. Point is that the week after would be anywhere between the 11th and the 15th of January. So he's saying that it's going to be a trailer around then, which, keep in mind, that's about a month and a half ahead of the actual Pokemon Day. Because remember, Pokemon Day is happening in February 27th, right? Every 27th of February is Pokemon Day. And Pokemon Day... Like, Pokemon Day is guaranteed news. Like, this is not even a question. You can argue as much as you want to in the comments. But Pokemon Day is always guaranteed news. Like, for whatever it is. Whether it's a new generation, whether it's just a new game, or whether it's a trailer for already known games, we always get stuff during that period. Because that's the celebration of Pokemon. It's also their biggest event of the year where they get everybody hyped up for the rest of the year, right? So it's a common thing they do, right? It's not that crazy. So... it would be odd if they were to drop a trailer in January and then another one in February. Like, I guess they could, because if they do a trailer in January, then what do they have to show us in February? I mean, they still could show us a lot, right? Because the first trailer could just be a very small thing of this, right? And then the second trailer or the bigger reveal could be like some new megas and stuff in February. But it would be so weird to have them so close to each other after a year of nothing, right? Like, imagine 2 trailers 1 month between each other compared to no trailers for the entirety of a year. It is a little bit insane, but I digress. I digress. It is intriguing nonetheless. But that's this rumor, though. There is still more to talk about. And in this case, we have some official stuff to talk about. For example, the Scarlet and Violet event for Keldeo, Deoxys, and Zarude has started in Japan. These are, of course, like these Pokemon that were hinted by Riddler Coup that they were going to be getting special events. And so far, they're all out and ready to go. People can actually get their hands on them. You can, register and get your hands on them. Of course, this is Japan, but it's these mythical Pokemon, right? And usually, when they start releasing these mythicals, as well as like alongside the Rayquaza and everything, this usually means we're at the tail end of the lifespan of this game, right? That means we're at the tail end of Scarlet and Violet, and these games should be kind of reaching their climax now, right? They should be done. So that's pretty much that indicates. And basically, if you're in Japan, you can get these. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a bit longer, right? Moving on. There's also some new items you can get for free. This is from the 18th of November, 2024 until the 31st of December, 2025. And it's basically just to jumpstart your journey. If you're basically new, if you're coming into Scarlet and Violet as a new player, you can get your hands on these. If you type in Element Stones in the mystery gift section, you can get yourself the evolution items, evolution stones in this case, for a total of 5 of them. So of course, a fire, leaf, just the regular ones, right? Like just regular shit. Leaf stone, water stone, thunder stone, ice stone, etc. That's available. There's also the cosmic stones, which is to give you access to the evolution stones, the shiny, moon, dusk, dawn, and so on and so forth. The sunstone as well. So if you need that, and of course vitamins as well. So vitamins. I don't know which way you guys prefer saying it, but either way, you can also type in that same code. And again, sorry if I've been blocking the codes. Here you go. I'll move my face. It is vitamins. Just replace the letter I with the number 1, right? So I for 1, and then you should be fine. Same thing here. Replace the O's with zeros and the I's with 1s, and you should be fine. And same thing here. Element stones, and just the O in stones just needs to be changed to a 0 instead. And once you've done that, ladies and gentlemen, you got yourself some nice little new items you can get your hands on, which will be very nice in case you're starting your journey in Scarlet and Violet. Now, I think if you haven't played Scarlet and Violet, the game should be relatively cheaper to buy now than it was on release date. Should be cheaper in stores now. So if there's any time to play the game, now is the time, because now the game has had enough time for them to put out at least a few bug fixes, though the game still has its issues, okay, I will be honest. It's a lot to do with the game development of Scarlet and Violet, but also the Switch is just not the best of consoles, okay? I'm just going to be real with you. But nonetheless, definitely give it a shot. So same thing here. You guys can see evolution stones for both of these codes, and then vitamins for these. You can pause the video if you want to look at these codes, and that's that. Then we also have, of course, a bunch of events, right? So there's a structured breakdown here from Makio and J. Rose. There's also this one by Kingly, which I would highly recommend to check out as well, which goes through everything. So for example, from November 29th until January 5th, there's going to be Chansey mass outbreaks in Paldea. So it's a good opportunity for EXP farming or XP farming if you want to level up your Pokemon. There's also November 29th until December 5th, the same time, there's also going to be Corviknight and Bellibolt mass outbreaks that are going to be happening, or I guess, sorry, raids are going to be happening for Corviknight and Bellibolt, and it's going to be a mass outbreak for Tinkatink and Paldea with the ferocious mark possible to get. Now, why is this important? Well, if you want to get your hands on a shiny Tinkatink, if you haven't already, mass outbreaks usually guarantee higher chance of you actually finding one. Not increased rates, but rather higher chance, because there's going to be so many more spawning. Then you also have December 6th until December 12th, so 2 days before my birthday. Let's go. Raids for Azumarill and Clodsire, as well as mass outbreaks for Wooper in Kitakami. So this is during, this starts right after this week's, events and stuff. The same thing here. This starts like right after that week's of events starts the next one. On December 13th until December 19th, you're going to have the raids for Annihilape and Kingambit and mass outbreaks for Girafarig in the Blueberry Academy. And of course, both of these, so Wooper and Girafarig, if you want to get them shiny, this is the best opportunity. And of course, you guys already know, shiny Rayquaza raid, the 5-star battle one, and it's a Dragon Terror type, 1 catch per save file. Do it now before it's out. And of course, mass outbreaks. In Paldea, you have Setotl, Kitakami Carbink, Blueberry Academy Fracture, and increased shiny rates for all of these. So mass outbreaks for this period, December 19th until January 5th. So that's when the event ends. So 5th. I thought it was 6th or 9th, but there you go. So at the same time as the Rayquaza event is happening, you have a chance of getting Setotl, Carbink, as well as Fracture, all shiny in these different locations. Of course, if you have the DLC. If you don't, then you're going to have a little bit more trouble, but generally speaking, you should be fine. And here you guys can see the actual schedule for all of this. I'll just make my camera a little tiny for a second. You guys can pause for a minute here, and you can just look at all that if you need to. Also, shout out to Kingly. He has a whole list of these things as well, like really beautiful visuals here to show you exactly all this stuff. Perfectly visualized. You can see when everything is happening, what's happening, where it's happening. So Kitakami, Blueberry, and Paldea. it's a beautiful visualizer for all of this stuff. The raids are going to be happening and all the mass outbreaks. Basically, this is the end of the year stuff that's happening right now, right? This is everything here is end of the year. So since we didn't have a DLC this year like we had last year, they're doing all of this to finish the year off. They're giving you a bunch of event stuff in the game to do, which I know a lot of you guys don't care about. Not necessarily myself either often. Sometimes I'll jump in and do these, but most of the time I'll also kind of forget about it and miss it. But I would say do it because this is like your last chance. The events in Scarlet and Violet soon should be ending, right? Because we're getting, like I said, to the tail end of this game's lifespan. Like we're getting to the end now. Of course, if they announce the next generation for Pokemon next year to come out in 2025 alongside legends like ZA, that's what I always predicted. But there's a chance that that's not going to be the case because we have I think the 30th anniversary. Like the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, like Pokemon as a franchise is turning 30 years, specifically in 2026. So a lot of people are assuming that they're going to delay the actual next generation until 2026 to celebrate it then instead of releasing it, next year. So that's at least what a lot of people are predicting. We don't really know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's going to be that in regards to that point. Then also, speaking of Scarlet and Violet and sales and everything, apparently Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has now sold over 8.3 million units in Japan, which has surpassed the sales of Pokemon Red and Green and is now the best-selling Pokemon game of all time in Japan, which is crazy for me to even think about that. And I'm not going to get into the whole arguing about this game and the hatred people feel for it. I actually have a massive video essay I'm working on about Scarlet and Violet. It's going to be a long video where I'm going to specifically go into my feelings about this game, by going through the entire game and just breaking it down in detail. So, yeah, that's just what I'm going to be doing with that one. But other than that, though, I think we've gone through most of the important stuff for this video, guys. So, yeah, I want to thank you all for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.